Hello. Hello. Money Mike's. Hello. Shazeb. How are we? Bit of a different one today. Not Chelsea related. Well, we'll have Chelsea bits in it, but more general. Daniel, hello. Welcome to the stream. Still think City will win the league. I did see. Oh, broke his leg. Damn, really? I saw that he was in. I saw like a little injury thing. I didn't see what it was. Broke his leg. Damn. Where have you seen that? Who's posting it? Who is posting it? Try and just give it a few minutes just to let a few people jump in. Just to let things rack up a little bit through Twitter and on YouTube. If you're on YouTube watching, please do drop a like. If you're on Twitter, please do come over to the YouTube, drop a like. Even if you are just going to go back and watch it on Twitter after, it does help me out far more. A Man City fan called Big Steve. Actually, that's a good point because I saw somebody else, a City fan, just put a heartbreak with no context. So this could all be linked, I would assume. Interesting. Where do you find this? This is on FootMob. So this is FootMob. Just type in FootBomb Premier League predictions. That's where I found it total. That is where I found it. So yeah, just letting it grow up a little bit. Got give it one more minute. Ipswich will stay up. We will go into predictions today. Probably only give you like half an hour stream because I need to get off in time to watch the what do you call it? Super Cup game. No worries total. And do I think Jackson will be happy on the bench? Happy, no. But do I think he's got like sort of the resilience to earn his spot? Yeah, he comes across that way, but tough to tell. Tough to tell for sure. You don't know behind the scenes. We'll do the top 20. That's what I'm going to do. And then at the end, we'll discuss sort of like player of the year, young player of the year, best defense, signing of the season, top scorer, all these things. And then you guys can sort of answer yours in this chat. We'll go from there. Get one more minute, and then we'll start with the league table. What would your front four be if Osman signs? I'll answer this. I'm not going to do Chelsea questions, but just whilst I wait this last minute, see how many we get in, I would answer Neto on the left. The thing is, it's not a front four, it's a front five. But like, because obviously you're starting 2-8s, so it'd be Neto, Enzo, and Kunku, Palmer, Osman. But then saying Enzo's an 8, I'd then want Gusto to overlap and play as the right wing, sort of like width, so Palmer can drift inside. Because I don't want Palmer out wide. I want him in the centre of the pitch, and then Enzo can drop a bit deeper. Sort of like we saw the other day. Obviously, he was playing in a diamond, which is a bit different. So if you haven't seen that, by the way, check out the videos on my channel. They're the one yesterday describing the diamond, and also a thread on Twitter, because some people think that now that that's just how we're going to play, but we specifically went with that diamond for a reason. Anyway, let's get going. So 100 odd people in here, mainly from Twitter. Like I say, if you are watching on Twitter, it does really help me out if you just hop over to the YouTube, leave a like, even if you're just going to leave straight away. It helps me way more watching it and supporting it through the means of YouTube. But yeah, hello Daniel. Right, Arsenal. Right, you think that City will 5 out of 5? That's the big one, isn't it? Arsenal or City? Personally, okay, we're going to move on from the Chelsea questions because tomorrow and Friday will be Chelsea streams and videos. So I want today to be a bit more general Premier League, and we're going to go from the bottom up in terms of my predictions. So, bottom for me, Leicester. Quite an easy one. I say easy one. It could genuinely be. Obviously, you got the 3 relegated teams. They're the ones that people are like eyeing up for sort of 20th. They're the ones that are being put in there. A lot of people saying Southampton. I like Southampton enough in terms of the team that they've got, the youngsters that they've got. If they can sort of produce like a Dozy, Shea Charles, like Ronnie Edwards, who they signed, like these players that if they take the jump, then I think that they can just about maybe sort of finish above bottom. Also depends what they do towards the end of the season, and I just don't think Leicester's team has got, and somebody's literally just put that. Leicester's team has no goals in it. I don't think they've got enough goals in there. And Martin is a good manager, I agree. So Leicester 20th for me, followed by, unfortunately, Southampton. Haven't seen enough bit. I actually like quite a bit of the business they've done, but the business they've done, in my opinion, so far has been business that is ready to be ready to be relegated again. Essentially, of like Ronnie Edwards, 3 million, unbelievable business, unbelievable player, but I just think it's sort of preparing to go back down to the Championship. Flynn Downs, again, like he cost a lot of money and he's brilliant for him last year, and again he'd be brilliant if they go back down, and I still think he'll be brilliant in the Prem. I do rate him, but it's not improved upon what they already had, and it feels like they're sort of setting up for that. If somebody like a Matt O'Reilly comes in, not going to happen either by the looks of things. If they make one or two of those type of signings, obviously they've signed Bertrand Diaz as well, then maybe I'll change my opinion. But it's going to come down to the likes of Adam Armstrong stepping up, Adozie having a breakout year, and yeah, a few things like that. So I've got Southampton 19th. Someone said Oscar Bob leg break. I did see that, yes. Bad. Has it been like officially reported as a leg break yet? Haven't seen any like official reports of it being a leg break. I've just seen Bruno Fernandes' new deal though, which was sort of reported earlier anyway. But yeah. So 18th, it is going to be Ipswich. So it is going to be a flush of the relegated sides being the promoted sides being relegated. I think Ipswich, it's mainly due to McKenna being a bit more pragmatic and being a little bit more willing to change the style. In terms of, I think he'll go a bit more direct at times. I think they've made two very good signings in Hutchinson and Greaves. So it's tough because I don't think the rest of the squad is up to the level. But I think that McKenna can. I think if anyone's going to survive, it'll be them due to manager quality. And Russell, I rate Martin too, but I just think because he's a bit more sort of stubborn in the way he wants to play, I think without the players, and if things go wrong, and if, like I say, if big players don't step up, or the youngsters don't step up, like a Dozie, Adam Armstrong having a Premier League caliber season in the Premier League, that's why I have them slightly above. I do think that could be slightly different if Southampton, if things go their way. But yeah, no need to move anything because 17th I have Wolves. Losing Neto, of course. Losing Max Kilman. And then I don't really think they've signed anyone of note for me. Like they've made a couple of signings. Obviously Lima, one of the highly rated right back Brazilian that Chelsea were linked with as well. But I think it's very much going to come down to the likes of like Cunha this season. You've lost a lot of your output with Neto. Yes, when he's injured. When he was injured last year, they still did okay. And Gary O'Neill I do rate, which is why I pretty much have them staying up. Because at one point I did sort of have them down in that 18th spot, but I have, based on Gary O'Neill, I have sort of got them up. Going for Visser, that'd be interesting. That would be interesting. So got them 17th. Now 16th. Actually hurts me a bit to put them there because I like some of their players. But I've got Forest. I think they've got one of the best home fans like crowds in the league. I think in terms of an away day, I think they're brilliant. Obviously, they've also got Hudson-Odoi, who a lot of the people in this chat are probably Chelsea fans as well. I have a massive personal affinity to him. One of my favourite players, going through the academy and obviously breaking through at Chelsea. Morgan Gibbs-White, quality. They've just got a one-year like Elanga, all these players that are decent quality, but I just think they're going to struggle to put it all together at times again. And I think a few injuries, and I think they're in trouble. And it feels like they're probably one of the other teams that just aren't quite gelled enough in that sense. Haven't they bought a winger? Not off the top of my head. They probably have, but let me have a look for you. Like I say, I remember they signed. Who did I say? I don't remember anymore. Obviously, he kept Murillo as well. Oh, Elliot Anderson, good signing as well. Jota Silva, very good signing. That's the winger you was probably talking about. And then Milinkovic, good signing. So 3 good signings, really. Elliot Anderson, I actually do think could have a big breakthrough year. But yeah, I've gotten 17th. I have gotten 17th, unfortunately. 17th, sorry, what about Nottingham Forest 16th? And Josh, you think Nuno's the first to go? Fair enough. I'm going to get to my one, and I don't think that's a bad shout at all. I don't. I think that's up there for me too, but I have gone with a different one. And we'll get around to that one once I got through the table. So there, then we got 15th Everton. I just think Amadou Onana, massive loss. Again, not made unbelievable signings. Ndiaye, good signing. But yeah, apart from that, I'm not overly infused by their business. Getting rid of, well, not getting rid of. It's not like he obviously wanted to leave, but losing their best player. That's tough. Obviously, Branthwaite staying. That's big. But yeah, I think 15th, Dyche Ball just being pragmatic again. It's obviously like, again, they've got players in that squad that could just unleash something. I like Jake O'Brien as well, the centre back they've signed. But Jesper Lindstrom on loan. But yeah, I've got them 15th. 14th, where are we? 14th, I've gone Brentford. Where are they? At the top, B. Got Brentford. Now, this is purely off the Frank effect, in my opinion, and also it's Thomas Frank plus the fact that I think Tony will stay at Brentford at least until January, which is what's given me sort of that feeling that Brentford can finish in around 14th. 13th got Fulham. I feel like it's a very standard position for them nowadays. They've actually made some really good deals. They're going for Joachim Anderson, of course, Smith Rowe, who I think is brilliant. I think he could have a brilliant season if he stays fit for them. Like I say, going for Joachim Anderson, supposedly, so that would be a great signing as well. Obviously losing Tossin, so sort of having to replace that. Have they signed anyone else I can't think of? Ryan Sessegnon on a free and George Cuenca from Villarreal. So yeah, see, a lot of people have said that, and a lot of people that I've seen predicting it have had him lower. But I've just gone for, like I say, I think that they've got enough. Hang on, is that who you mean? Do you mean Fulham? I was still talking about Brentford. I keep getting lost. They did lose Polina, which is another big reason why I'm a little bit sceptical. Like I say, I think, yeah, and that's true. Robinson and Smith Rowe on that left could be unbelievable. That would be unbelievable because then you got Smith Rowe drifting inside off that left with the width overlap from Robinson. Wow. Wow. 12th, we have Bournemouth, who I actually think are going to have a really good season, and I know that's sort of contradictive, but it's more so like they've just lost Solanke. So Jebinson, who they signed last season, I believe, we'll have to bring up their transfers just to double check. He, at the minute, would be their replacement for Solanke. So it depends what they go and do in the market. I love Iriola. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And of course, they might be getting Mamardashvili on loan in goal. They've got Sinistera joining on a permanent. They got Enis Unau as well, actually, who they signed. I forgot about him. And they've got one of my favourite centre backs in the world in Huijsen, Dean Huijsen. Brilliant signing from Juve. So yeah, I've got the. Oh, you was talking about Brentford, cool. So yeah, I've got them 12th purely off the loss of goals from Solanke. I think if they sign another striker, there's a chance they could finish higher than that. But I've gone for them in 12th. 11th, I've gone Brighton. I love Brighton's team. It's a new manager. I think it is going to take a little bit of time, but again, it's funky, and I like the like Herzler's tactical sort of innovation, and it is innovation because it's the way you form it. Obviously, he's got similar principles to other managers, but the ways in which he does them is different. Some brilliant signings. Literally, Matt Zweifer, in my opinion, is a worthy top 6 central midfielder. I think he would have been perfect for United. I was calling that for ages. Minter, who's brilliant signing as well. Like Newcastle, he wouldn't have left Newcastle if it wasn't for PSR. He is good enough. So like Minter, brilliant pick up from them. Was there one more? Oh, Gruder, who's joining. Again, unbelievable. I think they've made just some really astute moves. Again, like they're a bit on the higher end than obviously like what you used to with Brighton in terms of like them picking up literal 5 to 10 million and like progressing. But they're at that point now where they've had a bit of European football last year. Obviously, they're sort of raising their profile a little bit, so you can sort of get those. And yeah, like I say, Herzl, I don't have reservations. I need to see a little bit more, and I think they're going to be a little bit hot and cold, is what I think, which is why I've got them a little bit lower than maybe some. But I love their squad, and I do think, given time, I think they could have a really good end to the year. So, but yeah, we have got them in 11th. 10th, we have Palace. Probably my favourite manager in the league, Oliver Glasner. Wow, just unbelievable. To be fair, in 10th, it feels like low, but you've got to consider they've just lost Elise. He could be going to Newcastle. Eze still possible on the market for a few teams. They're looking at him. He may stay, which would be brilliant. I'd like him to stay there. But there's a few teams looking at him on the market. I'm not overly keen on Ismail Assar. I think I think as a bit of business, I think it's okay because I think they got him on a good fee, but I don't think it really replaces what you lost with Elise. I would have rather played Raksaki and give him those minutes. One of my favourite youngsters in the league as well. Kamada on a free, brilliant signing as well. Chaddy Riyad, left centre back. He's unbelievable too. I think he's going to have a breakout year. I think like a lot of people will be praising him come the end of the season. I've got Palace in 10th. I like them a lot. Glasner, perfect. If Eze stays, could push higher, but we've got them 10th. 9th, West Ham. The best transfer window of any Premier League team this summer. My biggest gripe, and I keep tweeting this and people don't agree, is that if I was West Ham, I would have gone for John Duran instead of Fulkrug for the money that they paid. I think Fulkrug is going to be a brilliant signing for them. I think he's going to score goals, and I think he will help them. But I think long term, I think Duran is ready to explode. And I think whichever team takes that gamble on him, and I thought West Ham were going to, I think they'll reap the rewards. I think he would have made them the most devastating transition side in the league with Duran, Kudus, Somerville, and Bowen on the counter. So that's just where I'm at with it. But apart from that, for me, it's like a 10 out of 10 window. That would have made it the 10 if it was Duran over Fulkrug for similar money. The Fulkrug fee, and if you're being really like picky, I think they've overspent a little bit on Kilman. I do rate him. I think he'll improve them, but 40 million is quite steep. But I've got them 9th because as well, it's a lot of moving parts. Wan-Bissaka, a great deal. New right back. Probably going to be 2 new centre backs because Zuma's on his way out. Well, it is 2 new centre backs. Sorry, to Debo, another brilliant piece of business on a loan with I think it's obligation, but yeah. So we got West Ham in 9th. I think that one is like I think a lot of people could genuinely be like putting them a little bit higher just because of this, how good their window's been. But you have to almost take into account there's a bit of an embedded period. Lopetegui's first season. There's a few other external factors. 8th, I think this might ruffle a few feathers. I've got 8th Newcastle, which even I'm a little bit unsure about because of Isaac, Gordon, and if they sign Gurhey. But I do think they could run hot and cold again this year. I do think we could end up seeing more Eddie Howe to England leaks at some point, to the point where I know he can finish the season and he's in no sort of rush to get in the job because Carsley's taken over as interim. I think that could play a part in the back of their minds. I think there are a few injuries away again from being in a bit of trouble. I do think they've got a very good squad, but But yeah, I'm gonna leave them in eighth, and I am skeptical about it because I do think Isaac could be unbelievable. Depth in some positions it's okay. Um, in some positions it's okay. In others, not so much. Just got here which positions are finalised. So I'm up to eighth. So I'm about to reveal seventh. If Palace get Chalobah and Chukwuemeka and like the rumours say, that's what I mean. This is before like the ending signings, by the way. Like maybe on the after deadline day, I'll sort of come back with this table like in order, and then sort of make it. But again, obviously we'll have a few games in by then, so it's sort of that's why I want to do it now. But it could obviously like signings do change things. It does. Where are we up to? Seventh. We're gonna go Villa. Love Amadou Onana as a signing. Think it's brilliant. Matson, big fan of him. Have been from when he was at Chelsea. I have heard the Oscar Bob rumour. Broken leg. I have. Villa, like I say, I think Morgan Rogers is going to be another one that has just an unbelievably electric year. He's been very good in pre-season, but he's just somebody I rate quite highly anyway. Was on my sort of scouting list before he joined, so I've got him up there. Philogene as well. Like they've had some very nice signings, but I think again maybe a little bit of gelling, maybe, and I think that first year in Europe is going to be big. I think that first Champions League year could play its toll just a tad to the point where they just miss out on that top six. So that's where I'm going to put Villa. Seventh. Sixth, we got United. Again, I think Ten Hag. I think they've made some changes, and I think there is some very good bits of business in there. I think Euro, of course, he's injured now, but it's a good buy. Again, whether you agree with the fee or not, good signing. Xerxes will improve them as well, and I think they need that midfielder in. They do need that midfielder in. But as I said, I think as time goes, I think that gaps will open up again. From what I've seen, their press is slightly more structured. It's got a little bit better in terms of timings and like sort of when to leave that gap in the midfield. But I do think as fitness sort of the longer the season goes on, I think those gaps could open up again. It depends on that DM signing. I think that's a big one. And I think if it's a Garte or who's the other one that was rumoured? There was another one, but if it's a Garte and the other one that was rumoured, because I remember thinking about this, I think sixth. I don't think it's enough. If it had been maybe Fofana, Yusuf Fofana, maybe could have snuck higher because I think he's a better fit for Mainu. But Ugarte's not the best fit for me. He fits the system in terms of like being very sort of up and down, aggressive ball winner, but exactly, I think a little bit too quick for his sort of aggression. I think it's less timely and it's more sort of erratic. So at times it would work, and at times I think it would still leave you with that massive gap. So, and Agate is somebody I wanted at Chelsea, so I do rate him as a player. Like back in the day, but I think it was last summer. I did want him, so it's not like I don't rate him. It's just I don't think he quite fits like the Mainu partnership. Right, fifth we've got Tottenham, because fourth I've got Chelsea. Okay, I've been saying pretty much all summer that I thought it might be that, but I've decided on stream I'm going to be confident and I'm going to go Chelsea getting fourth. Massively riding on the fact as well that I am getting to the point where I'm 50, like I was 50-50, but I'm still pretty much 50-50. I'm at that point. If we get Osimhen, for me, I think we get fourth. So put it that way. So that's why I've gone with that. Tottenham again, I think some of their business has been unbelievable. I think Bergval's brilliant. I think Archie Gray, one of my favourites, which is why I'm gutted he went to Spurs. Solanke, again, good for Tottenham, I think. Good, sort of good level for him, and I think that's a good signing from them. Slightly overvalue again, but he will score goals and he will fit Ange's system. Bergval is quality. As I just said that, yeah, absolutely. And like you say, if we get Osimhen, you agree, maybe fourth. Who else did Tottenham sign? Have I missed anyone? They might be getting a winger. I'm sure I've missed someone, but some good signings. We're going to go 5th with Chelsea 4th. Like I say, with Chelsea, it's more to do with Osimhen. I'm not going to even go too much into the Chelsea thing. Everybody knows my opinions on Chelsea. For me, it's 5th or 4th this year. It's sort of a coin toss, and that's why I've got them there. Liverpool 3rd. The only reason I've got Liverpool high, and I rate Slot, but I do think it will take time. It will take a little bit of time for everything to fully click. They've looked good in pre-season. They will. I think they'll get figured out before it becomes perfect. I think they'll figure out, and then it will sort of take a little bit of time again before they really kick on. The reason I've got them 3rd is I just think their spine just carries them a long way. I think already having that intact, where you have Trent, Salah, Van Dijk already there, and then you're already implementing the likes of Konsa, Bradley, the likes of, like them off the bench, or even if they're starting, because Konsa's probably looking to start the season. Again, they could have done with a 6. Really could have done with a 6. Zubimendi would have nailed them 3rd for me, but that's why I've gone for them 3rd, mainly because of the core that I think they have. Alisson too, yeah, I forgot about Alisson. Don't know how, but yeah. Now, the big one. Unfortunately, I do think Arsenal are going to win the league. I do think City are going to come 2nd. And last year, when everybody was saying Arsenal, the rice was enough to win the league, I stood firm and I said City, we're going to win it. This year, Calafiori and Marino, if he goes through, this is quite as silly as it sounds to say, because he's not a like game changer type player. This is quite heavily riding on that Marino transfer, because the way I sort of came into this window for Arsenal is I had 3 things that I wanted them, because again, I don't want them to do well. I don't want them to win the league. I'd rather City win it, honestly, as a Chelsea fan. But the 3 things that I had in mind for Arsenal to address was a left centre back, left back hybrid. They got one of, if not the best in the world. Calafiori was literally one of my favourite players last season in the world. I watched a lot of Bologna last year for work, so a few of their players became some of my favourites. Him being one of them, and unfortunately he's joined Arsenal, but we're not going to talk about that. Second one was a left centre mid that can take the ball, the progressive ball, not carrying, because I want basically to unlock Rice as a carrier and allow a little bit more creative passing and passing, not even creative passing, more comfortability on the ball and recycling ability. So Marino quite big in that. I think Fabian Ruiz would have been slightly better, but Marino big in that, and he adds that physicality that Mikel Arteta wants to build the whole team with, which fair enough. I think that's brilliant, to be fair. I think it's working for them with set pieces. I think it's working for them in the big games. Gives them that slight edge in those games, and you can't knock it. For me, those 2 signings is just enough to tip them over City. The thing that, in my opinion, makes them like 100% winners is if they go and sign a striker or a left winger that adds transitional threat and sort of gravity in a way, but if it is a left winger, it's more sort of ability to stretch. So again, the few that I earmarked for them, Osimhen would petrify me if they got Osimhen, and because I want him at Chelsea anyway. The other one that I sort of said, and again, Gyökeres would be perfect. Another one I went with for them was a Penda. More so for that ability, he can play off the left, he can play off the can play off the left, can play up front. You could rotate him with Havertz as a striker at times, but he also just stretches it from that left-hand side. And I think he would have given him that transitional threat and sort of stretched spaces for the likes of Rice to carry and Havertz to drop into if he's playing up front. And this is what I mean. I think it could have had a good dynamic, could have freed a little bit on that right-hand side, having that sort of left-hand side surgery that they're having. So almost addressing that entire left-hand side. So I do think Arsenal are going to win the league based on that. Just to talk on City quickly, they've not done a lot. I really rate Savio. I hope Doku gets more minutes this season. He obviously played a lot last year, but I hope he really gets the trust fully implemented, sort of like Grealish's second season, in that sense of being like really spurred on to now become a massive part rather than like a piece it together part, if that makes any sense. but I don't think they've quite done. And like obviously they've lost Alvarez, which is a big piece for them. I love a few of their youngsters that are going to come through. James McAtee and obviously Oscar Bob, unfortunately, with that news about the leg break. But James McAtee for me as well. I think they both deserve the minutes. And I think if they weren't going to get them at City, they should have gone out on loan. So if McAtee does stay, I hope he does get the minutes because I rate him very highly. But that's how I have the league currently. That is how I have the league currently. Now, I'll quickly sort of scroll from the bottom. Leicester, Southampton, Ipswich, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Brentford, Fulham, Bournemouth, Brighton, Palace, West Ham, Newcastle, Villa, Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal. I'm not sure what it means about the weekend. Grealish worth it for 100 million. It's hard to say worth for 100 million, but his second season was so good, so good, so important. So you could for that reason alone make an argument that yes, because he was so important, more important than people give him credit for. It makes it impossible for teams to continue double teaming Saka. Yeah, this is absolutely true, and that was part of why I say Osimhen mainly, but then even Openda just to stretch the pitch and it sort of takes markers away. But I do agree with that. Man City finished, yeah. Well, I don't think that would come in this season personally. You said Arsenal bottle it and City win the league. Who knows? Who knows? I do unfortunately think this is Arsenal's year. Unfortunately. Now, just to go over the last few sort of bits that I had written down as my predictions, I had a few questions on my tweet. Player of the year, I've gone Erdegaard. I think he's gonna, if Arsenal are to win the league, I think his creativity in terms of how to like unlock defenses. I think he's so important in the press anyway. But I think sort of just that creativity to unlock a defense in the big games where there's going to be one goal needed. Yes, Saka's there, but I do think, as somebody said, I think he's going to continue to get double teamed. And Erdegaard, I think, will add that tiny bit more, maybe a little bit more output, and he ends up getting the player of the year. That's how I've got it. So I'm going to go Erdegaard. Best defense, somebody asked. Again, I think it's Arsenal. I think they just have the best back four in the league. Signing of the season, I've gone Amadou Onana. Mainly because I already think that, but I also just think you can't go wrong. I think you can have a brilliant season. I think if anything, you're going to see the extra build-up responsibility from him too, which will unlock a little bit more of his technical side, which I love. I think that'll be brilliant. Yeah, absolutely glazing Arsenal tonight. It must be tough for you. It's really bad. It's bad, isn't it? I hate it. But the thing is, it's like it'd just be so disingenuous of me to sort of pride myself on opinion and like saying what I actually think as an analyst and sort of as what I do, and then to just sort of sweep people under the rug because I'm a Chelsea fan and I don't like their teams. Be so easy for me. It's like same with Tottenham. Be so easy for me to just like make it just do that. It's like, but oh now I've lost everything. Oh no. There. But yeah, how would Spurs fans feel if Arsenal win the league next season? It's probably a slightly bit more annoyed than us, but even then, like it's hard to tell. I mean, yeah, very annoyed. That's their biggest rivals. They consider themselves. They consider them each other's biggest rivals. So absolutely awful. In the same way, we'll feel absolutely awful as Chelsea fans. And I'm saying we because I know Daniel Knight is a Chelsea fan. So, signing the season, no. Top scorer, and again, this is where it contradicts my table a bit. So I've got Haaland, top goal scorer. Second, I've got Isaac, and I've got Newcastle in eighth. But I do think Isaac is going to get second. I think the trajectory is there for him to have a 20 plus again, and to have a 20 plus Prem season, but to also sort of take those levels to another level as well. So I'm projecting a big season for Isaac to come out, and then off the back of that, if they do end up finishing that low, good chance you see him get a big move next summer too. First manager sacked, again, it's quite an easy one, but even before I did like the positions of where people finished, I just think it's going to be Steve Cooper. I just think it new sort of not enough. He's not ingrained in the club in the same way that Martin and McKenna are, to the point where they may get a little bit more time to fail if it starts badly. Whereas I think Leicester, if it starts badly, there's not enough there. So I do think he goes early. And Again, quite an easy one when you've got them 20th, but that's how I've got it. Overachiever, I've got as Bournemouth, based on the fact that they've lost Solanke. So I think a lot of people have like started knocking them down the rankings because they've lost Solanke. I think they'll overachieve what people are expecting. Whether you think 12th is an overachievement of what they should do because they have got one of the better managers, have had some good recruitment in years, then fair enough, you don't rate that as an overachievement. And yeah, Nuno. So a few other people said Nuno. Josh said Nuno as well, Sportcat. So yeah, good shout. You think Palm will get more assists and goals? So did I. So do I. I said that from the get go as well. In this system, I think he'll get more assists and goals. Obviously, penalty dependent, but because if we get 5-6 penalties, then could skew it. But I do think he'll get more assists. What else was I going to say? Who else was I going? Overachiever Bournemouth without Solanke. Underachiever Forest, just because I think their squad is like they should be doing better than this. But again, management wise, like people are saying, I think Nuno will be one of the first to go. So again, whether you rate that as an underachievement, probably not. So you could say Wolves as well. But I've gone Nottingham Forest purely because I really rate their like quite a few of their players to be finishing where they are. So that's everything I had sort of already mapped out to talk about. So now, for about 10 minutes, we'll go into some questions. If anybody wants to type their questions in the chat, I will just say, because I haven't said it since, please do, if you're watching on Twitter, please do just come over to the YouTube, drop a like on the video, and then you can go back to Twitter. No worries. But it does really help me far more when I'm getting likes on my on my YouTube, and then it pushes this on YouTube, and that's where the money comes from. Just so you know. So yeah, we'll do 10 minutes of questions, and then we're going to have 15 minutes before the game starts, which I need to get ready for the Super Cup final, because Mbappe is playing his first game for Real Madrid, which is exciting. Ooh, which is exciting. What is our best winger combination when everyone's fit? I'd say it depends if you say Palmer's a winger. Like if you're saying actual out-and-out wingers, it would be Neto and Madueke. But if you're going to have Palmer playing off the right, then it's Neto and Palmer coming off the right. But yeah. Maybe let's try and keep it off Chelsea specifically. Try and keep them more sort of Premier League wide. I'll also answer some Chelsea ones if they come up, and there's not much else in the chat. But just because this one is a more Premier League wide stream rather than Chelsea specific, I'm just going to quickly check how the stream is doing. We're on 12 likes on the YouTube. So like I say, if everybody could just come over and drop a like on it, really does help it. How it performs. For the algorithm. Best player Haaland, best signing Solanke, top scorer Haaland. Best signing Solanke, fair enough. Fair enough. My top 5, I think, as of now, is, and it's like sort of value dependent as well. I have Anana, followed by Calafiori, followed by Bergval, followed by, where did I put? Can't remember who I put now. Hoyson from Bournemouth, the centre back. And I don't know who I put 5th. Can't remember. Can't remember, but they're my top 4 anyway. Solanke is a good signing though. Somerville's another one. He didn't make my top 5, I know that for a fact, but I would have had him like 6th or 7th for West Ham, so he's up there. What's your ideal setup for Madrid with all these stars? I'm writing an article about them at the minute, so I won't go into too much detail because that's sort of, I'm doing it as a job. So I'll post it on my Twitter when I do it, but it's like obviously it's tough to get everybody in the team. Valverde is a must in the team, put it that way. You can't drop Valverde to accommodate for other players. He's staple. So people that sort of go with the setups of Valverde out to accommodate for the front three of Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vinny, with Bellingham in the 10. Valverde has to be in there somewhere. Has to be. Sunville's mint. West Ham done crazy business. They have. They've been unbelievable. Their business has been outrageous. Say, if it Duran for Fulkrug, and I'm rating that window close to 10. Like really, really good. and it's like the value of Kilman being slightly lower. But Todibo, what a signing! Wan-Bissaka, perfect for them. Guido Rodriguez on a free, and even yet they're not done. Like they might get Carlos Sola from PSG. There was another one they're linked with, Zeze from Nantes. He's brilliant as well. He's not as good. He's obviously not as good, but he reminds me of Lenny Euro, but left-footed. So if they get him too, the only thing is they've got too many left-footed defenders already, because you've got Kilman now, then you've got Agurd, and who's the other one? There was one more. Can't think. Brain's a bit frazzled tonight. Keep forgetting names. Gonna go for 2 more minutes. Who are your manager? Oh, candidates for manager of the season. Didn't think of that. I mean, realistically, if Arsenal win the league, Arteta's going to get it, because he's been challenging for this for a while and he finally wins a title. So Arteta's the easy answer. Out there answer. Let's go Glasner. Let's go that they make a few signings, and instead of my predicted 10th, they end up like 8th or 7th, and he gets manager of the season. Let's go with that. Why not? But easy answer, Arteta. I had a debate the other day that Arsenal had the best first 11 in the league now. Some of their players individually aren't the best in their position, but pieces fit together amazingly. Pieces fit together amazingly. That part, absolutely true. I think they had the best back four in the league, if not the world. I think what they lack compared to City is sort of like game-changing moments of brilliant players that can do it on a consistent basis. What I mean by that, because Saka and Ødegaard are moments of brilliance players, but to the level of like a De Bruyne who can pull a rabbit out of a hat if City need to find 1-0, like find one goal, and they've got Haaland, who is a different monster in that sense for goals. But I do think, like I said earlier, because he's my prediction player of the year, I do think Ødegaard's going to put up trees this year. I do think he's going to sort of take that next jump in terms of, like I say, pulling rabbits out of hats when Arsenal need him to. So that could be quite a big factor. That Man U midfield depth isn't good. Their season lives or dies in that midfield. What if Manu gets injured? Yeah, like I say, I think I've got them up, but again, like if there's teams that can challenge that like quite easily. They're not safe here at all. I agree with what you're saying. If Manu gets injured, they're in trouble. And if they don't make a signing, I think they will. I think they'll at least make one, whether it's the right one. Like I said, if it's a Garte, I don't think it's the right move. But I think they'll make a move regardless. So they'll have a little bit of wiggle room in there. Tom Collier will probably get quite a lot of minutes too in midfield. But yeah, I could easily see that. I could easily see Newcastle finishing higher, but that's how I've gone with it. That's what I've gone for. City's downfall isn't PSR. It's letting players like Gundo and Mahrez leave over the years. See, the thing is that's sort of been the City way. It's sort of like they've had like those like Savios and Alvarez types coming through the door, and that's when they sort of max up. That's like their chance to get rid. I do agree. Like Gundogan leaving, even though they did manage to win it, Gundogan was far bigger loss than they realised. Mahrez is one of my favourite Premier League players that hasn't played for Chelsea, but I do think they could cope with that one fairly adequately at the time with what they had. Gundogan, I agree, but again, that was more so he wanted to leave too. He'd sort of had like finished his stint, if you want to call it that. They're vulnerable. Yeah, I agree. Like I say, I've got Arsenal winning the league. So, how do you rate De Ligt, Xerxes, Mazraoui? Mazraoui, I think, is brilliant if he stays fit. I think just offers them so much sort of tactical versatility, which is nice for them. Xerxes, again, like I said earlier, with Calafiori, one of my favourites last year. Bologna was one of my favourite teams in Europe. He was, again, part of that and a big part of that. I think he's a good signing at the value they got him for too. I think they now have two profiles that offer them two different things up front, which is exactly what I want for Chelsea in terms of having an Osimhen and a Jackson. De Ligt, I think, will do well. Again, I do think he'll do well. I think him and Euro together, or at least, yeah, I'm not sure. I do think he'll be good for them. I do think he'll be a good signing, De Ligt. I think he adds a little bit of sort of calmness on the ball, awareness and positional awareness. It's his turn of foot that's not frighteningly quick in terms of on the turn, like because he's also put on quite a bit of muscle in the last year, so he used to be a bit more nimble. but a bit more top heavy now. So, but I do think he'll do well. I think I think United have had a really good window for business. I think really good, but like I said, I still think Ten Hag to go eventually, and it depends how the system sort of develops. And I think the midfield is more important than anyone they've signed, and they haven't addressed it still. So teams playing control possession games like City, Arsenal, and now Chelsea have relatively less injury risks to teams. So I agree. I do agree with that, and that's why that was the biggest thing for me with Chelsea. Like one of the biggest things is I do think we'll suffer less from injuries. Touch wood, but purely down to, like you say, style of play and less sort of chaotic running sequences where we have to chase every ball and lose the ball and have 500 ball recoveries a game to hit teams in transition, rather than creating it artificially. Any managers you think will be sacked before January? Yeah, Cooper. And now that people have said it as well, I think it could be two before. I think it could be Nuno as well. But yeah, Cooper as well. Steve Cooper. Right, we've been going for 45 minutes. And I do need to, about 14 minutes to get ready for the Real Madrid game. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you everybody for watching as always. If you are watching on Twitter still, once this ends, the YouTube video will be uploaded as a video. Even if you just go over, drop a like on the video, and then go about your day, it does really help me out, and I do really, really appreciate it. As I said, thank everybody for joining. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, Money Mites, for the support. Solid stream as usual. Tomorrow is either going to be a stream for Chelsea or a video for Chelsea, and Friday will be whichever I don't do tomorrow. So we're going to have a Man City preview and a Man City preview stream. One day, one the other. So as Rajesh says as well, more likes, please. It does help me out. And as always, take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks everybody for joining.